that's what makes that rebound conversation so hard. There might be a positive index. I'd have to hit Bill Gates and have him come off the carbon footprint for a second, or just give me the index off of it that says, for the competitive market. See, I went to the stone mill and I said, well, let's build the stone industry from Hancock, and let's talk about it from the market in terms of competitive businesses that relevate to job worker functions, where I could say a CEO that went from Paladon came through and was able to function that problem out to me, where stimulus would have gone to Palantir's company in terms of a stock, not a stimulus. At least a night program for the IMA to be able to say this guy's certified to be able to do this. When it's about a simple transition over, this is clarified to a job index before the CDL pay grade, the $40 an hour union pay systems, because there's nothing. There is nothing whatsoever to say, I'm going to come through that company and give them that private economics instead of just another saw which somebody can't man and makes the whole stabilization of the product line. Any company that's going to come back up, not just the market, because otherwise you're just playing with inflation. You're just playing with somebody's the annual percentage line that's supposed to be a 45 that can get indexed, so somebody could have played around with that bullshit. Because otherwise I'd tell you, make a company. I'd say take your money out of the market as they're talking about, and I would say begin to invest that in a standard line. That's your market, not just to the market players, because they're not making a business. But here to NSNBC, I would say let's line that up. Why? How is the problem like I'm talking about in my prior video here, where I'm going to put the global warming dude right there, and Bill Gates, this, that, and the other. And of course, you can put different chairs in that position, but the result is under camera that those reactions to those questions relative to those seats or how that function is conducted, because you as an embassy player are a chair. You occupy what the bottom line is. When I say from this company, when I ask this question, is it going to change the manufacturing results on that index, because that was out there, numbers of phone calls increased on that Hubble 45 Dirac equation, Copenhagen's interpretation here, on that string straight line. There the operation only moves a little bit, but from the ground, this thing feels like an earthquake generating machine. And so you have to be careful about why your guys' money on that index correlates to the pressure on the stimulus package. And again, it's just, I'm not saying that some of that stuff's done. It's just like they're not bad, they're not good. They just don't understand the math operation to a quantum operation and how to be able to explain that functionably inside of what graphs we're going to do, not only as a presentation, but also to conduct the information and present more from this build. You have to factor in all those aspects before you build into the timeline of saying these people in this room to cover a topic, because it can go critical. Absolutely. When we get down to the dirty on things, it's going to be, we do this because this is an engineering statement. This is, Smarter Everyday's building a supersonic baseball cabin. They're going to get a cannon. They're going to get in there. We're going to start tearing through things like that. And it's your job to remind me. It's like, hey, we don't have a trailer for that. And you're going to come at me in that tone because it was at that level. Or it could have been just registered to the redshift of the machine. Got it. And I mean, the second I would have put those things together and known that they were a thing, it goes immediately to filling in the entropy with that housing IKEA build for the machine inside of there. And so then we can begin. And it's like, yeah, all right, so the budget's still good. That comes out of a cost. We had to factor that. But let's build to it. And then even after we get it wrong, we're going to say the end result is plus this. Is there any machine typing systems, a serviceable model on X, Y, or Z indexes that any of these can change? And I'm going to give them some ranges, because they come with binary -1 and 1. Factoring 0.11 into the civilization will give you like 1 out of 60 billion out of the population of Earth, realistically. And then I would say 1 out of those 60 billions, or 2 or 3 at this time, start to phase operate. Obviously, we had NASA for a while. The operation changed. We're dealing with Elon, Bezos, and some other systems up there, because those are the competitive equilibriums that are going to say completeness between those astrophysical designs. And these functionable graphing indexes are correlatable. And if I've seen it from that perspective, I'm going to be able to index how those graphs correlate to when I'm using that standard model to say it's probably going to be this one. It didn't factor it But inside here, I bet you it's going to be this. And if I start to see one of these over move on the other way, I'd say half of it or quarter of the percentage of the fractal that I wanted to index in one move to series that plate to drop with momentum actions inside that system over a distance is going to give me a big effect. So if I had to have that conversation in the room relative to how I'm presenting it, I'd say that's the mass gap. That's being able to IMA a walk through OSHA MSHA. This is the Brock under the floor. It may be okay. It may not be okay. We're going to make that determination on timelines after I finish the first review. And I've been working here for a year. A year. If you did that and just had that perspective about it, it's going to give you a different index because you're factoring something different. Yeah, you know that thing's going to happen. Factor that index into that window of opportunity. We are factoring it as a singularity calc, not just as a negative singularity calc, but it'll happen. But realistically, I need to find a larger operation to make sure that the byproduct of all of this other system isn't causing that work or crew function or that fuse to burn out consistently, or whatever the cosmic radiation background or fuse designs on that resistor board are going to function to what breadboard is. And again, that's the cell signal. I'm putting that up there on the index for the graphs on Tesla and Edison's light bulb here for it going off. And in that index there's some competitive stuff to really say physics on the ground is a relative notation to make sure we're getting that total index.